The other thing I'd say is that he is going to continue to use all these racist dog whistles throughout the campaign. We're going to see it from Trump, we're going to see it from J.D. Vance, and we're going to see it from a lot of their surrogates. In fact, just yesterday, one of the surrogates was saying, if we don't win, we're going to have a civil war to get our agenda through. A civil war. And so this is an organization, this is a right-wing campaign that's going to be racist, misogynistic against the vice president, but we're going to stand on the issues and what really matters. It's the fact that she is qualified. They want to call her a DEI president or DEI candidate. She has more experience than Trump and J.D. Vance combined times a million, right? She worked at the state level. She was the attorney general. She's vice president of the United States. She was a senator representing one of the largest states in the entire country. And so these are just racist dog whistles. Whenever you hear DEI, I want you to think about the N-word. I want you to think about racial slurs. That's what they actually mean.
Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country and starts at the top with the vice president.
I mean, you know, before she was vice president, she was a prosecutor in San Francisco, the attorney general of California, U.S. senator. Is that the resume of a DEI hire, whatever even that means?
Yeah, look, I believe Kamala Harris is qualified to be the president. She has been the vice president. She was an elected official in California. She served in the United States Senate. So I believe she's qualified. I do think some of this, though, dates back to Joe Biden himself. I mean, remember, when he was picking a vice president back in 2020, if he didn't promise, he heavily implied publicly that his principal criteria for choosing a running mate were gender and then race. And he got a lot of pressure from Democrats to do that. And I think he unfairly stuck her with that when he went through his process because she is qualified. I think the correct way for Republicans to go after this candidacy, though, is to set all this aside and focus on what she said. She said crazy things during her 2020 short-lived campaign for president. Her record is standing with Joe Biden during an administration that has a mid-30s approval rating. You don't have to go down this road. You can say someone's qualified, and you can also say, and the reason she was chosen really is because she was a super liberal who has crazy liberal ideas that have led the country off into the ditch. That's the right way to politically attack it.
According to Democrats, calling someone a DEI hire is not akin to a racial slur. Imagine that. Anything, you get the funny part about it. They're so proud of DEI until DEI is used to criticize their candidate. Now it's all bad. Oh, now it's not good anymore. Now calling someone a DEI hire is racist. I thought y'all guys were proud of DEI because they know the meaning behind being called a DEI hire. Hey, you only got this job because of your identity. Your identity was the most important consideration for you getting the job, Kamala Harris. I think that's the attack. That's the angle that GOP lawmakers should make. But the problem is the media is behind the Democratic Party, so the media is going to spin it in a negative light, saying that this is coded language for racial attacks. I'm black. I call her a DEI hire. And yes, she is a qualified DEI hire, but think about how she got into politics. They mentioned her credentials. She was a district attorney. How did she get the job, though? She became senator. Okay, that's because she became district attorney. If you look throughout Kamala Harris's political career, you couldn't really say she was qualified for the lower positions that she had before she got to the federal government. Kamala Harris has a history of failing upwards. I'm not lying. There's a lot of material you can get on Kamala Harris about. All right. And some people are doing this challenge is that can you mention things that you support about Kamala without mentioning her race or gender? Go. Many Harris supporters, many Democrats struggle to really give anything of meaning. Usually, if it's a woman, they'll go to abortion. But Trump already said he's not doing anything about abortion. So that's a moot point, in my opinion, anyway. And now the fact that people are criticizing the fact that it seemed like everyone is, not everyone, but women, right? Because Ashley St. Clair, women vote at a higher rate than men. And this is how many are choosing a candidate. I know it's superficial, but I like Kamala. She can dance. That she looks incredible for her age. She looks like the kind of person you'd like to have a margarita or two with. This is how the liberals are framing Kamala. They're trying to make her seem relatable. And I'm like, yo, this is how the single women vote. This is how the Democrats get 66% of the single woman vote with a candidate like this. Let's not discourage the fact that it's harder for single women to make it in this economy. I think I remember I told you something that being single will now be considered a luxury in our country now because the cost of living is almost impossible for single people to actually be self-sustaining in this economy. But single women continue voting for Democrats, even though Democrats are responsible usually for inflation because they have the government spending, because they have to print more money to do all these issues like universal health care, which Harris's defend. Illegal immigrants that come over the border and they don't have no means to provide for themselves, so they have to go on the government's dime to sustain themselves until whatever the process they're waiting for. Another burden on the system. Like, if you don't think rationally about this, we're not carefully considering the outcomes that can happen for hiring Kamala Harris as president of the United States. And like many Americans see what I'm seeing. But for some reason, women, Democrat women, would rather us fail with a black woman, a black-looking woman, than succeed with someone of a different race because they believe that it's women's time now. How about we just focus on merit? How about we focus on experience? And how about we focus on intelligence from now on? Let's not do this identity politics game. Because as you saw from the intro, I highlighted how this is why people are saying she's a DEI hire. Because Biden specifically said that he wanted someone, a diverse whatever. And it starts at the vice presidency. You saw it. I saw it. I put the clip out there. This is why she's getting tagged as a DEI hire. Because the first consideration that came for Kamala Harris becoming VP was what was her identity. And Democrats have the goal to call us sexist, racist, because we want to criticize her for her special privilege. Right? The same way that they don't want us to talk about Kamala Harris's sexual history, right? How she got into politics. Y'all don't want to talk about that, though. We judging by behavior. Hey, look, based on your own behavior, you didn't really get it the way you're supposed to get it. Usually, people will support you getting it. And now all this cover-up that the Democrats are doing. And the fact that she won the nomination without a single vote from Democratic voters, I think is going to be a plan that's going to haunt the Democratic Party, because let's check out this clip of a Democratic supporter. Supposedly, he said he's a Democratic supporter, and hear his reaction of how Kamala Harris got nominated. Let's take a look.
I think that if the DNC would have taken this path maybe 2 months ago, when these same problems existed, I might have leaned towards Kamala, our vice president. Now, knowing the things that they've been hiding in plain sight from the American public, I cannot find it in myself to vote for a Democrat, and potentially I might never vote for a Democrat again.
So now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
I had to throw that clip in with Schumer clapping by himself in complete silence, as I don't see any enthusiasm. And Schumer lied. Right? And what lie did he say, Kenny? Oh, from support from the bottom up. Last time I checked, Kamala Harris didn't win a single vote. During the primary, she dropped out during the 2020 primaries before receiving a single vote. Her campaign got derailed before it even began because of Tulsi Gabbard. I think you guys seen that clip enough. But it's insane to me how, like, easy these people lie. And now, right? Because one of the biggest lies that come up, like this is what Democrats are talking. That's what I'm talking about. Is that you can't trust these people, bro. You can't, right? So here's Kamala saying that she believes that reproductive freedoms will stop with Trump's extreme abortion bans. I know, but you know, I hear people saying, "Okay, stop attacking her because of her identity." The Republicans and conservatives, they got nothing else to attack on her, so they're gonna make sexist, bigoted, misogynistic comments. Okay, we're gonna go on a policy. One, she's a liar. Let's roll the clip.
And we, who believe in reproductive freedom, will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body.
Another lie. You're not making a decision on your body. You're making a decision on another human being's body. Two separate strands of DNA, right? I have separate strands of DNA from you. So does your child in your womb. You're trying to make a choice over someone else's body. This is what I'm saying. People who are pro-abortion sees their child as property, as a commodity to do whatever the hell they want to do with it. Just like a phone. If I want to throw my phone and chuck it outside, no one's going to tell me anything. This is how they see a baby. Tell me I'm lying, people who are pro-abortion. Tell me I'm lying.
And not have their government tell them what to do.
See, this is my problem. See, I'm not talking to her on her race or identity because end of the day, she's nothing. She's just a figurehead. The platform behind her as a Democrat, you have to have certain policy positions, and that's all she represents. Same policy but different face. That's it. And Democratic policies is what got us here in the first place. And I'm gonna push back on that point she made about that the government getting out of the business of private citizens. But the government's a referee. The government's trying to make sure that it has a vested interest in protecting the life of its citizens. Well, there's the debate. Where does life begin? Is an unborn child human? If an unborn child is human, doesn't the human deserve human rights? And then they try to make this dumb ass argument about you have to be born to be considered a citizen. But I thought rights is not determined on location, right? Because this is the argument you make for illegal immigrants that come over the country. Asylum's a human right, and no one should be able to be turned away. And then we say they're not citizens; they don't deserve the same courtesy that American citizens do. Y'all want to play the same argument, but when it comes to abortion, oh no, you have to be born to be considered a citizen. I mean, I'm baffled. When the woman wants it, it's considered a life. When a woman doesn't want it, it's not considered a life. And that is the reality of the abortion. It's based on perceptions, based on subjective. Based on your subjective purview or how convenient that child is to your life, that's when you want to consider if it's a life or not. I know, very direct point, but you have no moral standing to really defend abortion. Abortion is the means to an end. That's it. But just be honest about it. Trying to do all these virtual signaling, all these girl, like, I'm just saying, man.
And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
It was never a law in the first place, so you're not restoring anything. Essentially, you're creating an abortion law across the world, across the United States. Sorry, all right. Just like you're trying to make claims that the Trump presidency is trying to create an abortion ban, right? Because it seemed like Kamala didn't do her homework, and then she's gonna get mad why people think she's a diversity hire.
To put it simply, it's now up to the states. And like Ronald Reagan, I'm a believer in the exceptions, the 3 exceptions, as you know, and rape, incest, life of the mother.
Okay, so that's Trump's position. Rape, incest, life of the mother. How many of those 3 things account for abortions that's being done every year in the United States of America? Less than 1%. So that means if the justification for abortion is rape, incest, and life of the mother, then I will come to the middle and say, okay, are you cool with banning any other reason for an abortion and only allow abortion for those 3 exceptions? You still will get a no from the pro-abortion side. Because end of the day, and that's what proves to me, your motives is so easy to see. The only reason women like abortion is because they like the convenience of abortion. To erase someone else's life because that life is inconvenient to whatever the hell they think they need or want in that circumstance. And then they're going to lie, fearmonger about how about Trump is going to ban abortion when Trump's like, yo, he believes in the 3 exceptions. So that's not really banning abortion. That's limiting abortion, which got a lot of pro-lifers mad. But Kamala Harris is going to sit here and lie in your face and say that he wants to ban abortion. Like, this is one of the reasons why I'll never vote Democrat.
The danger for the life of the mother. And we have a situation now where it's in the states' hands, and the states are going to be voting. The last thing people want, the people are going to be voting. The last thing people want is for that to go back into the federal government. It was always fought, and very importantly, and people wanted it, They wanted it back in the states where it belongs legally and for a lot of other reasons.
So that makes sense, right? That's Trump's stance. Trump's stance is, hey, yo, this is not a federal government issue. Kamala, we shouldn't be pushing an abortion ban or an abortion law from the federal government standpoint. Because then at the end of the day, you trying to make a one-size-fits-all rule for all states when we should leave this issue up to the citizens to hash out and decide. Florida got a 6 week, up to 6 weeks you can have abortion. Other states have a more lenient criteria. Some may even let you abort. Some was even attempting to pass laws to allow it up to birth. Some even after birth. If your state want to do that, they can do that. I don't understand how this is not a happy compromise between the pro-life and the pro-abortion side. And the pro-abortion side really show its face with Kamala, the cheering for Kamala Harris, is in reality they want it across the board. But then they're going to get mad when pro-lifers want an abortion ban across the board. Be consistent, please. So now, the mainstream media is making attempts to hide the fact that Kamala was in charge of the border, right? Because they're going to say, oh, she wasn't technically the border czar. She was just in charge of immigration. You see the games? Just because he didn't use that terminology, they're going to try to say that, oh, using that terminology on Kamala is false, when her duties fit exactly with what a person would expect from a border czar. This is the mainstream media we have. They think we're stupid. I digress. Let's get back into the video.
This is the kind of thing that is playing out all over conservative media. I just want to do a little bit of record correcting. There's not record crime right now. Number one, Harris was put in charge, as you said earlier, of combating the roots of immigration. She was not and is not the border czar.
And the Biden administration did task Vice President Kamala Harris with the issue of migrant crossings, naming her the so-called border czar.
I've asked her, the VP, today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
Isn't it baffling how the media tries to lie to you in real time? They're really rewriting history, saying that, oh, she's not the border czar, when exactly her job description is what we think a border czar is. Fact check. Biden has not named Kamala Harris her border czar, right? That's like me telling you the job description of an engineer, and then I don't call you an engineer, but I give you the job description. Hey, you're gonna do this job. And someone says, and then you tell someone your job description, and someone goes, huh, you sound like you're a mechanical engineer. No, I'm not. He didn't call me a mechanical engineer. That's exactly what they're doing with the whole border czar issue, because they know she's bad on that issue. They know majority of Americans support deportation. And her saying comments like this, because remember, if you call her a DEI hire, you'll be called a racist. Okay, we're focusing only on policy right now.
Favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct. And what we've got to do is we cannot have any more policy like we have under this current president that is about inhumane conduct, that is about putting babies in cages, that is about separating children from their parents. And we have got to have policy that is about passing comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway towards citizenship, shutting down these private
Clarify this for me, though, because I do find it confusing. I believe if someone crosses over the border, it is illegal, and you would decriminalize it.
I would not make it a crime punishable by jail.
Imagine that. You break into someone's country, right? Just like, let's say someone breaks into your house. You break into someone's country, and you're not supposed to suffer any penalty for that. What are you doing? Show me the incentive, and I'll show you the outcome. You're incentivizing people to do more of that behavior. If you don't punish something, it's like this one thing that being a parent made me realize how much of human behavior is based on incentive, right? You can incentivize someone to do good things. You can incentivize someone to do bad things, right? When I tell my son no, he's less inclined to do something, especially if I enforce that boundary. If I don't enforce that boundary, my son is more likely to do that action because he's like, oh, I did it before and I didn't suffer any consequences for it, so I'm going to do it again. The same thing with illegal immigration. And that's one of the biggest, that's cited as one of the biggest top issues in the current 2024 election. This is why people are divided in supporting Kamala. This is why no one likes Kamala. I already showed you in my last video about her becoming a nominee, and I gave you some, my personal feelings about it and some reactions that I've seen online. It seemed like the only kind of support she's getting is for women and so-called minorities. You got black Democrats crying online about how historic this is. You got blacks online saying that she's not really a black woman. She's using DEI as some type of psyop optics game. Another lie she's doing. When she became senator, she called herself an Indian American. But now it's convenient. She's calling herself black. This is the kind of party you support women, especially black women. Y'all so loyal to this lady because she went to a historically black college. Ooh, I know white people that went to a historically black college. Why you didn't vote for a white person? But then you have the goals to call people who call her a DEI hire racist when you're using racist standards, sexist standards to elect somebody without the will of the people. She should deserve more scrutiny, but she's getting less scrutiny than someone who's actually voted in by his constituency, Donald Trump. Imagine that. People voted for Donald Trump during the primaries. Nobody voted for Kamala Harris. Yet who's getting more criticism? Trump. Who's getting more covered? Kamala. Media bias is so catered to Democrats, no one should be taking their stuff seriously. Here's another policy. She's a climate activist. She's going to ban fracking if she gets in. And I already made my argument about how clean energy in reality means less energy. Banning fossil fuels is not smart because majority of our infrastructure, majority of the world's infrastructure still relies on fossil fuels. Producing less of it is going to make it more expensive for us. It's going to give us less access to energy. You see California, all I have to show you is, hey, if you want to see what happens when a California Democrat becomes president, just look at California and look at the state of it. You want that for the entire country? Most of you guys are going to say no, especially when you got people leaving the state. There are more than people going into the state. California is losing more people than gaining during the past few years. And you expect to elect a California Democrat into the presidency of the United States of America? Boy, hey, savagery, huh? But you're going to put her in because she's a black-looking woman. The superficial politics is why we're in this mess in the first place. We don't look at evidence. We don't look at outcomes. We don't look at policy. All we do is try to make it, we made politics a popularity game. And then they want to get mad about their choices of Democratic, of politicians. When y'all steadily incentivize the parties to do this kind of crap. I'm tired of it.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to.
Climate change is a exaggerated problem, right? It's an exaggerated problem, right? And Kamala Harris, and this is going to be my final point, right? Because I haven't really touched upon her identity because, a lot of Democrats pretend that that's the only way you can attack Kamala Harris when she has a lot of stuff you can attack her on. She makes this point in this video, in this clip right here, that she don't want us to go back. And a lot of people are nostalgic about Trump's economy. So I think this is the wrong messaging to put out. And also it highlights that she's not really going to change anything. She's not really going to do anything differently than Joe Biden. She's probably going to do more of the same. I digress.
America has tried these failed economic policies before.
Like socialism, universal health care, price controls. These policies have been tried before, increasing the taxes. The tax rate used to be 90%. That all happened in history. But why did all that change? Because it didn't work. But you're still pushing it, though. But I digress. I'm done.
Are not going back.
You're not going back to a safer country. You're not going back to the border, right? And this issue about crime being low, reports of crime are low too. San Francisco don't look like it has low crime. it looked like this low amount of people reporting on crime because it happens so frequently to the point that people are like, yo, they're not going to do anything about it. So what's the point? And they say, yeah, statistically, crime is low. Look at the narrative game, bro. At this point, I'm like, yo, don't even look at the media. Just look at your life and be like, yo, is it better or worse? Wisconsin is bad because Democratic leadership. Maybe we shouldn't vote for Democratic leadership. And then you work your way up from the local to the state to the federal and look at and examine every policy or every administration and see, hey, what's the gaps here? Why I'm not seeing it? Are the party actually doing anything to remedying this stuff? Instead of focusing on the fact that she's going to be the first African-American woman. But then if we criticize that identity politics, oh, you're a racist, sexist bigot. But you're not a racist, sexist bigot for electing somebody because of the fact that she's going to be the first African-American woman. But you don't care about her policies. You don't care about the negative effects of her policies. You with her. Hey, if Trump beat 2 back-to-back female presidents, bruh.
We are not going back. Not going back. We're not going back.
Not going back to safer borders, not going back to a good economy, not going back to lowering inflation. Hey, she's not doing anything different than Biden. All you're doing is you just change the packaging of a shitty product. That's all the Democrats did. And all of a sudden, oh my God, so much enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. I think that's what honestly pissed me off. But hey, I digress. I mean, I got nothing else to say. I just find it laughable that calling someone a DEI hire who was hired primarily because of her identity. Because even if Kamala Harris was qualified, if she was a white woman, if she was a white male, she would not have been Joe Biden's vice president, and we all know this. But if you make a tax about it, oh my God, it's like you calling her the N-word. Ridiculous. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Do you think that Kamala Harris is a DEI hire? Do you think Kamala Harris is qualified? I'd like to hear your thoughts about some of the things that I have talked about throughout the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.